They stopped believing in you. They stopped expecting anything from you. They stopped asking how you're doing because they already decided how your story ends. Good. Sit with that for a moment. Because what most people don't understand is that being counted out is not a wound. It is an invitation. An invitation to become something that no one saw coming. This is not a speech for everyone. This is for the specific person who has felt the weight of being underestimated, the one who has heard silence where there should have been support, the one who has watched rooms empty when they needed people to stay, the one who has failed, publicly, painfully, and had to sit with the wreckage while the world moved on without them. If that is you, then stay, because what comes next was written for you. Let's start with the truth that most people refuse to say out loud. Being forgotten hurts. Not in a dramatic way. Not in the way they show in movies where the music swells and the character has a single powerful tear. It hurts in a quiet, persistent way. It is the kind of pain that lives in small moments. The group chat you were slowly left out of. The opportunity that went to someone less qualified because someone believed in them and not in you. The meeting that happened without you. The conversation that ended when you walked in. These are not small things. They are slow accumulations, and they build into something heavy. Something that sits on your chest at night and whispers that maybe the people who gave up on you were right. Most people crack here, not because they are weak, but because the human mind was not designed to endure sustained rejection without explanation. We are wired for belonging. We are wired for recognition, and when both are taken away at once, the mind begins to negotiate with doubt. It starts asking dangerous questions. What if I am not enough? What if they see something in me that I cannot see in myself? What if this is as far as I go? These questions are seductive. They feel like self-awareness, but they are not. They are surrender dressed up as reflection. And this is the moment where the split happens. This is where two completely different futures are born from the same experience. One person hears those questions and accepts them as answers. They slow down. They shrink. They begin to perform their life at half volume because they are afraid of more rejection. They grow bitter without realizing it. Their bitterness feels like wisdom. It feels like hard-won cynicism. But it is not wisdom. It is the slow death of ambition disguised as maturity. They stop trying bold things. They start warning others away from the same risks they were too afraid to take again. They become the person in the room who says that won't work before anyone has even finished explaining the idea. Not because they know better, because they are protecting the part of themselves that has already surrendered. The other person does something different. And it is not dramatic. It is not a sudden shift. It does not happen in a single powerful moment of realization. It happens quietly, in the middle of an ordinary night, when they make one small decision. They decide that the opinion of people who counted them out will not be the final word on their life. That is all. No grand declaration, no revenge fantasy, no public statement. Just one private decision made in silence that changes everything. This is the pivot point. This is where real transformation begins. Not in the spotlight, not in front of anyone who doubted you. In private, in the dark. In the quiet spaces where no one is watching and no one is keeping score. Real comebacks are not built on motivation. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes with your mood. Real comebacks are built on discipline, on the decision to move forward on the days when you feel nothing, on the commitment to show up when every part of you wants to disappear, on the slow, unglamorous, relentless repetition of doing the work even when the work feels pointless. Understand something about discipline that most people misrepresent. Discipline is not punishment. It is not self-cruelty. It is not grinding yourself into dust to prove something to people who are not watching. Discipline, at its deepest level, is self-respect made visible. Every time you do what you said you would do, despite how you feel, you are casting a vote for your own capability. You are building internal evidence that you can trust yourself. And when the world has removed its trust from you, that internal evidence becomes everything. It becomes the foundation you build on when there is nothing else left. This is what people who have never truly failed do not understand. They have never had to learn how to believe in themselves without outside confirmation. They have never had to develop the particular kind of quiet confidence that comes from continuing to work when nobody cares if you show up. There is a hardness that forms in that silence, not a coldness toward others, but a firmness inside yourself. A clarity about what matters and what does not. A release from the exhausting need to be understood, validated, or applauded. You stop performing. You start building. And in that building, something extraordinary begins to happen. Your relationship with rejection changes entirely. It stops feeling like a verdict. It starts feeling like information. Each door that closed was redirecting your energy. Each person who underestimated you was revealing their own limited vision. Each failure that humiliated you was showing you a gap in your preparation. Not to shame you, to teach you. Failure is only permanent to the person who stops moving. For everyone else, it is expensive tuition. And if you paid the price of that education, you deserve to collect what it taught you. Think about what rejection actually does to a person who refuses to let it end them. It strips away everything that was not real. The relationships that evaporated under pressure were not real in the way you needed them to be. The confidence that collapsed at the first obstacle was built on external approval, not internal truth. The identity that shattered when things fell apart was too fragile to carry you to where you were trying to go anyway. Rejection is a filter, a brutal, painful, deeply unwelcome filter. But a filter nonetheless, and what remains after it is real. What remains is the part of you that does not require favorable conditions to keep existing. Now I want you to sit with this thought carefully, because it is one of the most psychologically important truths about rebuilding after being counted out. The people who gave up on you, they gave up based on who you were at a specific moment in time. They made a permanent decision based on a temporary version of you. They saw your worst chapter and assumed it was your only chapter. But identity is not fixed. Character is not fixed. Capability is not fixed. The most dangerous person in any room is the one who was once considered finished and decided to prove otherwise. Not out of rage, not out of spite, but out of a deep, cold, patient certainty that the story was not over. Patience. This is the quality that most people underestimate in a comeback. They expect transformation to be fast. They want the montage. They want to see 6 months of work compressed into a 2-minute sequence where everything clicks into place. That is not how it works. Real transformation is slow and often invisible. You will be working on yourself for months before anyone notices. You will be improving in ways that do not show up in a single conversation. You will be changing at a level that does not translate into anything impressive until the accumulation reaches a critical point. And then, suddenly, all at once, from the outside, it will look like a sudden shift. People will act surprised. They will say they always knew you had it in you. And you will feel nothing at their praise, because you know the truth of how it was built. You know the nights. You know the silence. You know what it cost. This is the paradox that rejection teaches you if you let it. The less you need validation, the less it costs you when it is withheld. The more you build from the inside out, the less dependent your progress becomes on whether anyone is watching. There is a kind of freedom in that. It is not the freedom of being loved and celebrated. It is quieter than that. It is the freedom of a person who knows exactly who they are and exactly where they are going, regardless of whether the room believes in them. That kind of freedom cannot be taken away, because it was never given by anyone else. I want to speak now to the part of you that is still carrying the weight of what was said about you. The words that were thrown at you during your lowest point. The assessments that were made of your character, your capability, your future. The people who wrote you off in conversations you were not supposed to hear. I want to say something about that weight carefully. You should not pretend it did not land. You should not perform a version of strength that says you were untouched. You were touched. It left marks. That is real. But here's what else is real. Those marks are not your ceiling. They are your record. They are evidence of what you survived. And survival, when it is chosen rather than merely endured, becomes a statement. It says, I was here, I went through this, and I am still moving. Let me tell you about the moment this all arrives. It does not arrive when you expect it. It does not arrive on a timeline you constructed. It arrives when the preparation and the opportunity intersect. And because you stayed ready while others were certain you were done, you recognize the moment and you take it. And when that moment comes, it is not loud. It is not what you imagined. It is cleaner than that. It is the quiet experience of things finally clicking into alignment. Of realizing that the work was not wasted. Of understanding, at a cellular level, that every night you showed up when you did not want to was building something real. The world will see results. But you will feel something different. You will feel the specific satisfaction of a person who has told the door was closed and built their own. So here is where I leave you. Not with a summary, not with a list of steps. With a single image for you to carry. There is a version of you that exists on the other side of this period. That version went through everything you are going through right now and did not quit. They showed up when they did not feel like it. They stayed silent when everything in them wanted to argue their case. They kept their head down when the world was not watching. They chose discipline over comfort on enough consecutive days that the discipline became identity. And that person, the one you are building toward right now, is not seeking the approval of anyone who ever counted them out. They do not need it. Because they know something that cannot be argued with, cannot be dismissed, cannot be taken away by someone else's opinion. They know what they went through to get there. They know what it cost. And they know that the greatest victories in a life are not the ones that happen when everyone is expecting you to win. They are the ones that happen when the world already decided you lost. And you showed up anyway. The greatest revenge is not anger. It is not confrontation. It is becoming someone that the doubt could not stop. Quietly. Patiently. Completely. They counted you out. Let them. The count was wrong. Now comment below. Count me out. Watch me win.